NATO, 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 NATO. We should come out of NATO. NATO is never there for us. All of this talk that he is doing about NATO, and I'm like, why is he doing all of this talking? If he wants to come out of NATO, why won't he just come out of NATO? Well, it turns out he can't just come out of NATO. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I want to give a big shout out to all of my old faithfuls and a big shout out to my newbies. If you've come across this video and are not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button. This is going to be an education session. Donald Trump can do all of the negative talking that he wants to do about NATO, but that's all he can do. He cannot automatically just come out of NATO like he did in his first presidency. And we can thank Marco Rubio for that.
We spend trillions of dollars on NATO, and when we need them, which we never do, we didn't need them here either. To be honest, I was really asking because I wanted to see what they do. We didn't need them. We blasted the hell out of them, out of Iran. And the last thing I needed was NATO stepping in our way, because they're a paper tiger. And NATO treated us very badly, and you have to remember, because they'll be treating us badly again if we ever need them, and hopefully we're never going to need them. I don't think we will need them. I don't think they can do very much.
So that's one of the viral videos that are going around on social media, and it's got people's panties all in a bunch because they think Donald Trump is going to come out of NATO. And so while I was scrolling, I came across this. Chuck Schumer reposted this tweet from Marco Rubio. At the time, he was Senator Marco Rubio. Here's what Marco Rubio put out there on Twitter. No U.S. president should be able to withdraw from NATO without Senate approval. Thankful my colleagues in Congress passed this bipartisan measure. Chuck Schumer retweeted that tweet, and Chuck Schumer added the caption that says, "I can promise this, the Senate will not vote to leave NATO and abandon our allies just because Trump is upset they wouldn't go along with his reckless war of choice. Thank you to Secretary Marco Rubio, because remember, he is now Secretary of State, for sponsoring the bill in 2023 requiring a 2/3 vote of the Senate to make sure clueless presidents couldn't act on a whim." I was like, say what now? You got Marco Rubio also putting out videos, getting in front of news media cameras, bashing NATO and, alluding to the fact that Donald Trump wants to come out of NATO, got everybody in a tizzy thinking that they can just come out of NATO. But I'm over here recognizing they're doing all of this talk about NATO and how dissatisfied they are with NATO and all of this bash talking of NATO. Why hasn't he just come out of NATO? That's what he did during his first presidency. Well, thanks to Chuck Schumer, I have been educated that Marco Rubio introduced a resolution to stop a U.S. president from being able to just come out of NATO. The only way Donald Trump can come out of NATO is if the Senate approves it. Back in 2023, this resolution was introduced. This resolution was introduced by Tim Kaine, Marco Rubio, Blumenthal, Moran, Feinstein, Cardin, King, Klobuchar, Merkley, and Durbin. And this resolution that was introduced requires the advice and consent. This is for the president. Requires the advice and consent of the Senate or an act of Congress to suspend terminate, or withdraw the United States from the North Atlantic Treaty and authorizing related litigation and for other purposes. So, unless there is an act of Congress or an approval from the Senate, Donald Trump cannot just leave NATO. But I dug deeper because I was like, well, where? Because this doesn't show me that it was signed into law, any of that. It's just an introduction. And so I had to bring Alfred into this conversation. And I asked Alfred, I attached the file, and I said, did this pass the Senate? Has this become law? And so Alfred educated me that particular resolution did not pass the Senate. That particular resolution was put into another bill. Alfred said, Tabitha, if you're looking for that particular resolution as a standalone resolution, you are not going to find it. However, if you go to the National Defense Authorization Act, which has passed the House, the Senate, and has been signed into law, this is from 2024. If you go to this act and scroll down to section 1250A, you'll find what you're looking for. And so Alfred gave me a link to government.info that took me right to the National Defense Authorization Act. And I clicked on PDF, and it brought up the National Defense Authorization Act. And so I scrolled right on down to section 1250A. Section 1250A is page 464 and page 465. And this is what it says. Section 1250A. Limitation on withdrawal from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That's NATO. Opposition of Congress to suspension, termination, denunciation, or withdrawal from North Atlantic Treaty. The President shall not suspend, terminate, denounce, or withdraw the United States from the North Atlantic Treaty done at Washington, D.C., April 4th, 1949, except by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, provided that 2/3 of the senators present concur or pursuant to an act of Congress. And then it goes on with a whole bunch of other fluff. But that right there is the meat and potatoes of it. Donald Trump just cannot come out of NATO. Shout out to Marco Rubio for ensuring that this took place after what he did in his first presidency. He can't do this without an act of Congress or consent from the Senate in his second presidency. So yeah, unwind and unbunch those panties, all of you out there. Donald Trump is playing on y'all's emotions. All right? All right.